Hello, ladies. Thanks for tuning back in with us. Tonight's video is about living the ceremony and an action plan to embody the gifts within your heart. This is our third video, our final video in our three-part series that we created for the courageous woman living in changing times, where we're offering you these tools to rekindle your own sacred knowing and truly activate who you are meant to be, who you truly are. And what we mean by all of this is really just becoming that more aligned version of you, the version of you that's more you. So, um, so let's touch a little bit on video one.
Yeah, I feel like video one, we were kind of exploring, you know, that path of discerning which way we were really being called to go. And, sometimes hesitating a little bit with who to listen to or what to listen to in making those decisions, and taking a little bit of time, specifically with that journal prompt of just like audaciously dream about what that next step could look like and what that life is that you're yearning for. And in that second video, we went a little further into, maybe there's some action steps that are already in your awareness that you can start to take that actually propel you a little bit out, like further along the path, and get you out of that like healing carousel, that like continuous soup that we're in.
Yeah, and also in the last video about like what version of you do you have to become to truly live that dream path, that dream life that you have? And how can you become that version of you before you have the proof that it's all going to work out, right? And so it's like being courageous in that in itself. And so we gave you the journal prompts of writing down your dream path, and also like writing down what does this leveled up version of you look like, just not even just looks, but like what is that for you, in all those details. And then tonight is going to be about how to create ceremony and this sacredness in our everyday life so that we are embodying it, right? So it's not this compartmentalized thing, like we just are. Um,
Yeah, we touched a little bit on the power of intention, and that, when we start to do these little practices of listening to your heart, writing it down, but then, taking a step further and like being intentional with working through these different pieces that are coming up in your awareness. And when we start to do that more and more, we actually start to really truly embody the sacredness of our life. And that's why I love the title of this, like living the ceremony, because so much of our, I mean, our whole life, I don't want to say so much of our life, because then it feels like some pieces are not included. Like all pieces of your life are sacred. And even the parts that feel like mundane or tedious, or like those are sacred too. They're just here to teach you something. And so it's like when I started doing this actually came from when I did my shamanic apprenticeship. I had this like big aha moment of like, my whole life is a ceremony. And I feel like things really started to click into place of, just how much magic and amazingness we're all capable of. And then when we start to really give ourselves permission to do that and allow ourselves to be that amazing like soul spark version of ourselves, then we're really here doing what we were designed, like what I was built to do, what you were built to do. And and then I feel like when I mean, I'm just going to say it, like when so many of us are that like soul blazing spark, so many of the things that we're trying to heal and shift and move in the world will just naturally fall into place because all of us are now taking that space and doing what we're designed to do. So just to
Yeah,
me it's
and
endlessly exciting.
yeah, and one of the things that we were touching upon is in the last video when we were talking about like this constantly feeling like we need to like do something else, like do a class before I can be this, before I can take that action, before I could, start this bit, whatever it is for you, right? But like that feeling of like you have to like do something else, and realizing that like we already are all that we need to be. And what is in the way is fear, whatever that fear looks like, or, fear of judgment, or, just these layers that don't serve us. And like, really that version of us is there. And sometimes when we have those things that aren't shifting, like maybe we're doing, healing practices and we're doing this work and it's not shifting, that sometimes that whatever that is doesn't really belong to us. That the actual core of that wound is actually something much deeper than just our lifetime. And so that is something to take into consideration, and to really learn how to discern what is mine, what might not be. And one of those ways of discerning is really the thing that maybe isn't shifting, that you're like, why isn't this shifting yet?
Right. Like it's definitely one of those things when you feel like you've already gone to so many doctors to take care of an issue, or it's endless therapy where you're always rehashing the same wound over and over,
Or you're
you know.
perpetuating situations, you're
Yeah.
you know
Especially the ones that you're like super confused about or that just don't ever seem to really click. Like I don't know. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but I'm sure you all can just kind of imagine with me, like those things that just always have seemed to be like a chronic thing that we deal with. And it's because it's probably not ours. And we're probably just, the last one on the line holding the bags like everybody else along the way. And we get to this point where it's like when we start to see just how powerful we really are, we can see those bags and we can choose to drop them and like end that ripple of then us perpetuating the same trauma or in some way issue to the next generation or to our communities. And sometimes it's not even in what we're actually doing, but sometimes it's in what we're not doing, um, that those traumas can show up. And so that it's kind of an interesting thing. We're perpetuating it, whether or not we're seeing it.
right,
And
exactly.
we can really do things to actually drop the bags and do it joyfully, do it
Yes,
effortlessly.
yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we were talking about is how some of these things, if they're not ours and we heal them, right? We're healing something. Did you want to speak to that? Because you mentioned it so beautifully, that when we heal that wound in the past, like what does that actually like equate
Oh,
to?
there was this. So before we hopped on, we were kind of talking and talking about like if we actually go back, and this is like with shamanic journey, you can go back and you can trace or meditation or whatever, trace back the wound, and you can see it starting, say like, maybe 2 generations, 12 generations ago. And that little wound then ripples out in all these directions, but the same actually goes for healing. So it's like if you actually journey back and you start to plant a seed of healing, and this is like in within yourself, then what ripples forward is all of this incredible healing, not to just you, but the rest of the ancestors that, came from that one particular person way back then. And to me, that's just so beautiful because then we create ripple of healing instead of ripple of like more things that we need to take care of. And so it just felt like incredible because, who knows if we went all the way back to the very first ancestor, could we, ripple this
Right.
incredible magic to everyone?
Yeah, and when,
Yeah.
and thinking of that, it's like, so we can we can be the one who says, okay, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna do this healing work. And it is to benefit our personal life. It is, but it also benefits so many others. And not just those of, generations before. It's also creating this new ripple moving into the future generations. And so when we're talking about what is your, dream path, or what is this leveled up version of you, whether you choose that or not, no matter what you choose, we're sending out a ripple, and we're sending out that frequency to the world, but also to the future generations. And it's like, what do we really want that to be? And so it's like, this is an opportunity to not just show up and create the best life possibly for you, but to send out that frequency and that ripple to the future generations and the generations past. Um,
And, I actually feel like it's like a byproduct, because what happens is like the more and more aligned that we get with our own heart's calling and our own excitement for waking up and doing what we want to do the next day, it's this healing work is just it just happens. It's just a byproduct that then we are that ripple of joy because, you know, I mean, just think of like those days when you wake up and you've got something exciting happening that day that you just radiate.
yeah,
And you become that beacon all of a sudden that's, you're smiling at the people walking on the road. And then you don't know what happens to those people's lives when you're just kind of giving them like a permission slip to,
that spark.
oh,
I love you used that word
yeah,
earlier. You're that spark. And we
yeah,
can be that for ourselves, for people in our lives, whether we know them or we're just passing by, but also to be like the ancestor that created this new and beautiful like permission to just be audaciously like courageous, right?
yeah.
Um, and so one of the ways, do you want to speak to one of the ways that we all can call on this courageousness?
It just got me excited thinking like I want to be that ancestor.
Yeah, we are.
Um,
We already are.
we already are that ancestor. I mean, just stepping more and more into it. But oh my goodness, so get me back on
So,
track because I got
when we were
excited.
when we were talking about living the ceremony and how we could maybe call on our courageous ancestors,
Yes.
um, do you want to speak to that?
No, go on. I mean,
Okay.
you're just saying
Um,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
So, when we have this version of ourselves, this leveled up version of ourselves that we want to be, right? That we are stepping into. We have this path that we are carving out for ourselves. And there might be days where you wake up motivated and you are just like gonna crush it. And then there's other days where maybe you feel some hesitancy or the fear creep in. And on those days, or any of the days, you can call on your courageous ancestors, because we all have had those ancestors in our family line who were adventurers, who were innovative, who were courageous. And we can draw on those strengths and infuse that into our day to day. This support is here for us, and we just have to remind ourselves to call on it. Um,
And
yeah.
that reminds me now what we were, yes, this piece of, we just by human nature, we forget. We, I mean, I forget all the time. And having something tactile, something that you can actually like see it and hold on to it, that reminds you that you're not alone and that you do have these sacred, powerful, courageous ancestors that have your back constantly, whether or not you remember or not. But having something that you can actually like pick up and hold on, say, a day that maybe you need a little help, a little motivation, a little reminder that you're not doing this by yourself, then you've got it. And so a quick little practice would be, find an object that has that kind of feel for, it just when you pick it up, you know that it's your ancestors are there with you. And it could be like an heirloom object, or like for me, I've got a crystal, and I gave it a job, and I said, please help me remember. Please help me remember that, my heart really knows where to go and that I'm never alone. And you can even just like put it by your heart, like really just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just getting all like feels about this because it's helped me in so many different ways. When, you wake up one day and you don't feel motivated, or you don't feel like you've got a thousand ancestors behind you holding your back, and you need that little extra tactile reminder, and you can put it somewhere where you'll see it now and then, like put it on your shelf, or put it like by your bathroom mirror where you're going to brush your teeth. Like it, this is all up to you in the way that it serves you the most. And we all can use it in different ways, so it's like getting inventive with these kind of tools as well. So that's just one tool that you
Yeah,
can use.
exactly. Just infusing into this object, the memory you want to hold for yourself, like this version you want to be, the courageous ancestors that have your back, and just when you turn to it, it's this reminder. So instead of a journal prompt today, it's an action step to find this, whether it's a crystal, a tool. I love that you brought up an heirloom, something that is gonna just remind you of everything that you're infusing into this, right?
Yeah.
Something that is fun to turn to. Maybe it feels good in your hand. Um, and yeah, so that is one way to just bring this into your everyday in, a really simple but profound way. Um, because it will instantly bring you back to what you've written in your journal, and these courageous ancestors. Every time you pick it up, it's like time traveling. It's just going to bring you back to
Right.
that vision, and it's going to hold the vision for you when you might forget it, and when you might think that you're too far off the path. And that's never the case. You can always just get right back on the path.
Right. Because the path is never, it's never gone. Like you're never not on the path. Like
Right.
you're
Yeah.
always, always there.
Yeah, even
And
if you feel like you've lost your way.
exactly. And we do. Yeah. Sometimes the path gets very confusing and very murky. But, when you realize that your whole life is a sacred ceremony, and you get to choose which way this path goes. And so, it's so nice to like, it gives me that kind of cozy feeling to have something to hold. And I think that maybe it is just like a very like instinctual thing to have a tactile thing. But one quick little thing is like when you are in that really great space and that really good mood, that's when you can charge the object. You can charge it like when you're in that, like, yeah, things are great. Just like hold it and like infuse it with that. It will remember. It will always remember. And
Yes.
then yeah, putting it on top of that journal,
Love
holding
that.
space.
Yeah,
Yeah, make a
right.
little altar or something. Like that's the sky's the limit, really.
Right. And even the journal prompts that we gave, you can always go back through, and as you gain more clarity and embellish on them, like write more detail, go deeper and deeper every time. The
Right.
other thing we wanted to share with you is that when we talk about this work and this way of healing ancestral wounds that have been as Naomi put it, I love the visual of like carrying the bags and like and then grandma took the bag and handed it to your mom, and then your mom handed it to you, and now you're wearing these bags, and you know
Nobody wants them anymore.
yeah, it's like, what am I doing with this? um we're making light of it because we can have fun when we're healing, right? We can have fun. It doesn't have to always be heavy and serious. We can have fun and do some really deep transformational work. And that's exactly what we've created with the Ancestor Alchemy retreat. We've really created this opportunity, when we talk about doing this healing work, um sometimes it can be like, okay, where do I start? How do I do this? And so what we've done is we've created this container, right? It's this sacred holding space that you get to show up to and be held and be supported and be witnessed and be guided on how to do this deep inner work so that you can truly let something go. And we're going to offer you practices where you can truly release it and let it go. And then even more, like we just were talking about, calling on the courageous ancestors, also call on your courageous ancestors in a really powerful way, and to truly gain this next step of clarity about what is the next chapter that you are writing for yourself. Who do you get to be? And so this container just offers you that sacred space to do this work.
And it's like extra special, like especially when we're calling on the support of our ancestors. And sometimes, like in our daily life, we can feel a little unsupported. We can feel maybe a little lonely or lost. And what's so amazing is to have actual physical people that are showing up and doing this alongside. There's just something extra special about, when we get together and do this work where we can physically see that we're not alone and we can see other people and support other people. Because when we show up and support others, that is such a profound healing for ourselves as well. Being in sacred service. So it's just such a beautiful container that I'm excited that we're going to create. And it's funny because it's like selfishly we're also just doing this for us, because it's like this is healing that we have been craving for so long, and are just so infinitely grateful that, get to be part of, and then offer it as like a gift, for everyone else to join and start doing this work, start normalizing this work, start making this not just something that we do once in a while, that this is actually part of living in the ceremony, like part of, incorporating these practices into just our life.
So we've
And
given you some
yeah,
tools, here in this video series that hopefully you're diving into and creating some change for yourself right now. And then, the retreat is just going to be such a deep transformational experience where we're also going to give you like you can take some of that home with you. There's going to be practices where you can dive into that at home, and it's like, okay, like you can carry it through. It's like that through line. And we're going to be
right.
in community. There's going to be other amazing women in this group, and so some new bonds are going to be made and some new friendships. And that's really special too, because you get to take that home with you too. You have these like amazing new people in your life.
Right. And I'm just going to say, like, the community is already beginning, like in your group with the Sacred Sisterhood, like that's already starting to like really take shape, that there are people there that are coming together and supporting one another. And it's like it's starting in the non-physical.
Yes,
and bringing it into the physical is like
which
the
is
next
exactly what we're
beautiful
talking
step,
about.
right?
Yes,
Exactly.
it's
It's like
parallel. Um,
becoming.
yes. And like you were saying, we've created this because this is healing that we crave, that we want to be part of, and we want to be part of, a group and a community that wants to do this too. And also like to travel and to have fun. And it's all the things in one retreat, right? So we have these deep healing sessions. We have, we're going to be doing some really transformational work. We're going to be having fun. We're going to be on the beach. We're going to be eating tacos. We're going to be exploring Southern Baja, So it's like all of these things wrapped up into this like
A
sacred,
vacation.
yeah, sacred vacation, soulcation.
Yeah.
But really, when it comes down to it, the essence of what makes this different is because, anybody, you can travel and go, on a cruise or something, I guess. um, but that what makes this different is that we really are gathering with intention, and it's cultivating that intention from the beginning. Like we've created this container, we've created some healing practices that you can, dive into and be supported in. And the intention is to truly, identify, heal, transform, become new, all of that.
Yeah. It's going to be a beautiful adventure and really looking forward to it.
Yes, we are so looking forward to it.
Ah,
Um, and we're
yeah.
looking forward to, sharing this time with you who's listening, who feels so called to be part of this. Because this is truly, you know, something we want the people who show up to feel really aligned. I mean, like that's how it's gonna be, and that's why we're offering all these things out, because we want you to understand where we're coming from, what the offering is going to be about. So, right now, if you're like, this is a yes for me, and, if it's feeling aligned, you'll just know that. And that's part of the sacred knowing. It's just in
Mm,
general, learning how to, really be clear with yourself, like that is a yes, that is a no, and being okay with that. And so I think that the people who are called to be part of this are already knowing that they are.
yeah, exactly.
um, so for tonight, bringing it back into tonight's topic, find yourself a sacred object, whatever that may be. Um, I've got this beautiful crystal from my son, and it just feels so comfortable in my hands. Sometimes when you pick something up, it just has like the best texture, and so find something for you that, feels good to turn to, and fuse it with all your intentions over the past few days. Infuse it with, like a reminder to call on your courageous ancestors.
And remember how courageous you are, because you are them. They are you.
So true. Thank you for that
Yeah.
reminder.
Uh, it's something yeah, reminding myself along the way as well, because we are all doing this work all the time. So, so beautiful to gather like this again. And I know that's our last
It's our
video.
last video. Well, thank you so much for being on this journey with us. And if you have any questions about anything that we went over in this series, of course, you can reach out to us. Feel free to share any part of like what
Whatever you're guided to
yeah, whatever
share.
you're guided to share, please go ahead and share, because what you have to share is going to either help someone or inspire someone else. I mean, we realize like when we do, it's just like, oh yeah, like sometimes it's something that is so similar, or other times it like activates something within us. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that, but that is true for me too. And so by you sharing, like you're helping other people in that way. So feel free to share whatever you feel inspired to share about this series. Reach out to either me or Naomi if you have questions about anything we went over. If you have any questions about the retreat,
We're
And
so happy to help in any way to clear
yeah, we're here for
anything.
you guys. We're here
Yeah,
for you.
always.
Um, okay, well, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Okay. You say bye first.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna hang up now. Bye.